yo. Yo, how's everybody doing? What's good, YouTube? It's your boy RJ, and we're back with episode 8 of We Game Podcast, where we keep it real over here and we talk gaming because we game. Hope you guys are having a good day, evening, afternoon, whatever day, time of the day you're watching this podcast. But we got some pretty interesting topics to get into. We're going to start off with the spicy news of the week. For those who's not in the know, Dr.Disrespect made some statements. He made some statements this week on this whole sexting and minor thing, right? And what made it worse for him was all this dropped right around the time the Drake and Kendrick beef was going on. So the internet was ready to take their frustrations out and claim whoever they could to be a pedophile. And Dr.Disrespect was exposed. So we're going to go ahead and check out his statement. I'm going to be open-minded because I am the type of guy who is innocent until proven guilty. And with all the laws in place in America specifically that protect children, I'm not always quick to jump on the lynch mob mentality without evidence. And so let's see if he brings up any evidence. Let's see if he brings up any facts, because ultimately that's either what's going to save him or he's going to enter his early retirement. So let's go ahead and check this video out, y'all. Oh, hold on real quick. I got this playing on the wrong speaker. Just make sure we got the proper audio going on real fast. Okay, we should be good to go.
The public demanded to hear from the doc regarding the Twitch suspension. I guess since you all missed the point with my personal statement, maybe it's time to tell my side of the story. Huh, champs? You see, there was a lawsuit pending, and as part of that arbitration, all parties were not allowed to speak publicly about the case. I respected those rules. My lawsuit against Twitch was eventually resolved, as you all know.
Right.
But even then, as part of the settlement, all parties were still prohibited from speaking publicly about the case or the settlement. However, if one side violated that confidentiality, then the other side could respond. And again, champs, I respected all the confidential obligations. But apparently Twitch's own disgruntled employees didn't feel the need to abide by those same obligations. Cody Connors, Twitch employee, wasn't even involved, leaks Twitch's reported reason. Years later, Cody, why do this? What was the point?
I mean, we know why he did it.
This
Trying to
was
get
settled
famous
professionally. And you, knowing how black and white the internet is, you decided, you fucking rat, to leak the reported reason Twitch banned me in 2020. Well, I mean, for what? Cody, why? Did you not know the repercussions from spewing lies about the two-time? Did you not know the repercussions of accusing me, Cody Connors? You see, you don't know shit, and it was obvious from your tweet. You didn't have any first-hand knowledge of my dispute with Twitch. You said that I got banned from Twitch because I was sexting a minor through Whisper's messages? Do you even know what the legal definition of sexting is? I do. And yeah, I used Twitch as Whispers, but trust me, I wasn't sexting anyone. You also said the word minor, Cody. I even made sure that word was emphasized in my statement, edited, etc., just to make sure these so-called journalists would pick up on it. And boy, oh boy, did they ever, champs.
He's basically saying he sabotaged himself. That's kind of what that sounds like. Let's see what else he got to say. What the hell?
When you and all these so-called journalists, Cody, fired off your tweets, did any of you consider that the Twitch user may have been over the legal age of consent at the time of the messages? You didn't. Neither did any of these journalists, and neither did Twitch at the time of the ban. You also tried to tell the world that I was trying to meet up with this user at TwitchCon, but you're wrong. Let's set the record straight. I never intended to meet this user ever. We never made plans to meet at TwitchCon or anywhere else, and in fact, we never met in person ever. Your bullshit accusations gave false courage to other former Twitch employees to make shit up as well. I suspect all of you sort of planned and coordinated this attack. These big-time publications, these journalists, these various outlets are sort of just gossip channels now, don't you think, champs? They act like they're just gossip channels now, without any real journalism and real research happening. They report on all this based on leaks from 2 former Twitch employees, one of whom was supposedly on the trust and safety team. If these anonymous sources worked on the trust and safety team at the time of my Twitch suspension in 2020, then you would hope they would tell the truth.
That's true.
But apparently that's just too much to ask. If these former trust and safety team members, and by the way, I know exactly who they are, actually had firsthand knowledge, then what they conveniently left out is, 1, Twitch's trust and safety team, the same employees that decided to ban me, internally admitted that the whisper messages were not sexting. And 2, Twitch's trust and safety team, the same employees that decided to ban me, internally acknowledged that the whispers did not constitute child sexual abuse material CSAM.
Wow.
I'll say it again. Neither I nor the Twitch user exchanged any sexual graphic messages or images. Cody Connors and these other anonymous sources are trying to paint a picture that I was exchanging sexually explicit messages and photos with this Twitch user. That never happened.
See, I would like to see the actual message, like the actual chat. But the thing is, you know, if you're accusing somebody of something, you need facts. Like, the burden of proof is on the people accusing somebody. The burden of proof is not on the person being accused. Now, if you have proof that you've been wronged or there's false accusations, of course you will want to show those, you know, receipts, right? Because it's going to further prove that you are innocent. So I think he should show it. Hopefully he shows it or whatever. Something. Hopefully he shows something. You know, he's speaking in a little bit more detail than when they accused him of doing this. But, you know, we need to see something, Doc.
I even used the word inappropriate purposely. And look at how it's defined by everyone, champs. Huh?
That's
including
true.
These defaming articles. I'm sorry, but mutual bantering with inappropriate jokes taken out of context should have never led to me getting banned from Twitch in the first place. I mean, how would each of you look if all of your private DMs, your text messages, your chats were looked at, dissected, and taken out of context by someone who's deliberately trying to find something inappropriate in those words? And this is not a situation where a victim publicly accuses someone of wrongdoing. That never happened here. We're talking about allegations that Twitch made against me as a half-baked reason for justifying their actions of suspending and shutting down my channel. Allegations that Twitch made without even a legal analysis of whether the whisper messages were legal.
Right, right.
You see, I engage with my community. I engage with other streamers. And through Twitch Whispers, I communicate with Twitch users. Conversations that consisted of a variety of playing games and gaming politics, content creation, random stuff. This was the extent of my whispers with this Twitch user. On June 21st, 2020, my ex-Twitch partner manager learns that I exchanged whispers with the Twitch user. And I say ex-partner manager because for years, this guy didn't do anything for me, my community, or my channel. For years. I'm talking no front page love. You're talking about the face of the platform.
He was.
Literally. The face of the platform. And I know Champions Club remembers this. We got zero front page love on the website. He was never on my channel. He didn't follow me on Twitter. He wouldn't even inform us about Twitch rival tournaments. We're talking about the 2-time Twitch rival tournament. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you want to play in it? We got zero support from this guy. And it was just so obvious that he carried a grudge against the 2-time. So after we signed with Twitch in 2019, we asked for a new partner manager. And just a few months later, that ex-Twitch partner manager is directly involved with getting me banned. Coincidence?
That is sus, but here we go again with accusations. You're accusing somebody of doing some bullshit and basically colluding with other parts of the Twitch entity to get him banned. You got to bring facts, man, because this is not public knowledge. We don't know that his ex Twitch representative or whoever the dude was is the one behind the scene pulling the strings, right? We don't know he's the puppet master. This is not common knowledge. So if you're going to accuse somebody, just like they try to accuse you and then bring no facts, right? You need to kind of bring facts, man, to validate, even if you don't show the actual chat of the situation with even though that's how you dead all of this, is just show the chat, show the text messages or the whisper messages, dead everything. But even if he doesn't show that, like, show other things that will validate your story, because it's really like he said, she said. You know, I mean, hopefully he shows something in the video. We're going to see.
The Twitch user tells the ex-Twitch partner manager that they do not want to report anything to Twitch. I'll repeat that sentence one more time just in case anybody missed that one. The Twitch user tells this ex-Twitch partner manager that they do not want to report anything to Twitch. But this ex-Twitch partner manager encourages the user and even directs them to file a report directly with Twitch, even though the user told him clearly that we never physically met anywhere and that no photographs were exchanged. On June 24th, 2020, Twitch's special operations team receives and reviews the user's report. They find no issues and determine that it did not warrant any further escalation to Twitch's law enforcement response team.
Damn. It sounds like a witch hunt.
That would have been the end. That should have been the end. But that partner manager, oh boy, did he had it out. He had it out for the 2-time. He finds out that no further action will be taken, so what does he do? He personally escalates the report to a friend on the Twitch's LER team. The LER team, remember, that's the Twitch's law enforcement response team. He escalates the report to a friend on Twitch's LER team. So a day later, on June 25th, the LER analyst pulls the entirety of the whisper messages and begins discussing them with his director of the LER team. Mind you, this director is on vacation at that time and does not have access to their computer or work files. Let me just remind you, I went through a multi-year,
he didn't want to say it. He spent a bag on them lawyers. And he spent a bag.
You discover a lot of stuff. Mind you, this director is on vacation at that time. The LER analyst cherry picks and sends a few targeted excerpts out of context from the whisper messages to this director. Now, if you do this, you can make anyone's messages look inappropriate, even when they aren't. Within less than 1 hour, this LER analyst and his director have made the decision to suspend me from Twitch. Twitch submits a report to NCMEC. You guys all read those little articles, huh? The NCMEC. Twitch submits that report. the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Guess what? As far as I know, and over 4 years have passed, they didn't do anything with the report. As far as I know, they didn't escalate Twitch's report to law enforcement. Mind you, the same people that made this decision admit internally that the messages did not constitute sexting. The same people that made this decision at Twitch admit internally that the messages did not warrant any child sexual abuse material charge. Twitch makes this decision to terminate my contract and ban me while admitted they did not perform any legal analysis of whether the messages exchanged were illegal in any way. Twitch makes this decision to terminate my contract and ban me while admitting that they never investigated the age of consent in the jurisdiction where the user's messages were sent and received. Twitch makes this decision to terminate my contract and ban me without ever interviewing me, the user, or any other third party, including the partner manager. It's fucking unbelievable!
Oh, he cooking right now. I ain't even gonna lie. He cooking. We need some facts, though, my brother. Some evidence. Damn. A screenshot, something. Damn.
I'm not going to get into every detail regarding my legal case, but these former Twitch employees that claim to have firsthand knowledge, they just don't have a clue. They didn't report any facts. The judge in the case determined that the whispers were not illegal. So then why did Twitch use these messages against me? Why did Twitch treat the doc so differently from their other streamers? I mean, outside of the obvious. I mean, just take a look at me. Unfiltered. The realest motherfucker in this industry. 6'8", gorgeous, athletic, successful, college degree, college athlete, bourbon business, gaming studio, beautiful family. And trust me, we've worked hard for over a decade to improve as a person, a husband, and father, and to get where we're at today. I mean, I'm in such a good place today. And all these people, they all act like they're just so perfect. I'm not perfect.
Okay, what the hell are they playing this music for?
I don't claim to be perfect. Sometimes I do. But I also didn't do all the shit that they're saying I did. But then that doesn't make a story, right? They wanted media attention. The media wants controversy. And by sensationalizing all of this with big, inaccurate headlines like sexting and sexually explicit.
Hey, they did push that narrative.
You all got what you wanted at the expense of the two-time. The reality is they wanted to cut down the doc. Plain and simple.
You know what? And why I'm kind of inclined to believe them is because we live in a day and age where social media like bleeds into real life all the time. All the time. Social media, shit happens on social media, and then some shit happens in real life, right? So the fact that this man got accused of sexting a minor, it got pushed all the way up to law enforcement, or at least the government, and they didn't find no issue. Now, mind you, dudes are getting cooked every single day for being pedos. The government has no interest in protecting Dr.Disrespect. My thing is, just because he didn't do anything illegal does not mean he didn't do anything inappropriate in a way that would be crossing the line. That's my thing. You know, so I need to see something, though. Like, he ain't showed nothing. He's done a lot of talking. It sounds like he know what he's talking about. You know, it sounds like he's not making up no bullshit, but you got some real good liars out here. So I'm going to stay kind of neutral so far. Let's see what else he got to say.
Take a look at some of these horrendous acts of Twitch streamers that were never banned. I've got some examples right here. Example number 1. A streamer that frequently used the N-word while publicly streaming, which constitutes a violation of Twitch's policies if accompanied by hateful intent. Twitch scheduled a meeting with the streamer to ascertain his intent to determine whether his conduct was a violation of Twitch's policies, ultimately determining it was not a breach of Twitch's policies. Why wasn't I called into a meeting? Why wasn't my intent taken into consideration, champs? Example number 2. Streamer was reported for discussing doing things with deceased animals and discussing pedophilia, all while live streaming. Never suspended, but instead given a multi-million-dollar contract. Example number 3. Streamer was reported for a sexually explicit stream involving children and telling children to send Snapchats of them playing with themselves. Never suspended, but instead, given a multi-million-dollar contract.
Who are these people?
It's so obvious that certain Twitch executives, employees involved had personal biases against the doc and used all of this as an opportunity to terminate my contract. Go back and look at the timing of all this too. The doc's termination lines up with 2 preferable, profitable, and expensive streamers leaving Mixer.
That's a conspiracy.
As soon as Twitch knew that Mixer had failed, and go look at the timing. These other expensive streamers needed a new streaming platform. So Twitch rushed through its decision to terminate the 2-time. You see, I shouldn't even be banned from Twitch. It has affected us on so many levels. Back in 2020 and now in 2024.
This man probably millions in the hole behind this shit. Not only that, if you peep, this is his live stream. This is a clip from his live stream. He used to have all different type of sponsors and companies, Turtle Beach, the 49ers, the NFL football team, just a whole bunch of random different sponsors that he would have their logos up on the as like an overlay for the stream. All that shit's gone. Everybody disconnect, and there was no evidence, man. There was no evidence. All there was some random motherfucker sending a tweet out, and then the shit blew up. And to be honest, a motherfucker who's guilty for real, usually they first response, usually they'll hit a fight or flight mode, right? And their first response is to disconnect themselves. Oh, they're lying. They're doing this. They're doing that. To discredit the person that's trying to accuse them. He didn't even do that. He said, yeah, there was some inappropriate things said, but I wasn't wrong though, right? And so my thing is, we gotta see it. This man could kill all the conversation if he just drops the chat. I'm sure somewhere in his computer or somewhere in a file, he has a screenshot of the whisper messages. His lawyer might. Somebody does. And that will I'm not saying he's going to get all his sponsors back because it's gotten too deep at this point. But, the man would at least have saving grace, in the public eye, which is where he's being charged right now. He ain't being charged in the criminal court. He getting charged in the public court, so I don't think he's going to really show nothing else, to be honest. He said a lot, but he ain't show nothing. I think he would have showed something at this point. Like I said, I'm going to be neutral on the whole situation. I wouldn't be surprised if he really did some bullshit and he was on some pedo shit. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's innocent. I don't know the man, but at the same time, I'm not going to crucify a man with no evidence. I'm not going to do that, man. Because if it was me and say somebody was trying to take me down, I wouldn't want people to jump to conclusions so fast with no evidence. And that's how this industry fake for real. This industry is a what have you done for me lately type of industry. Because motherfuckers was rocking with Doc heavy before this whole shit popped off. As soon as this shit popped off, motherfuckers didn't even need to see a screenshot of nothing. Everybody disowned this man. So at the end of the day, they got to protect their bag. So I ain't mad at them. But it's just a reminder, these motherfuckers on the internet are not your friends. They are not. So it's going to be, I'm going to keep an eye out for how this whole situation unfolds, if anything else gets dropped or leaked or exposed. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section or the chat. So next on the topics for tonight, we got SpaceMarine 2. And your boy has had the chance to play some of that SpaceMarine. So let's go ahead and check out this Is It Worth Playing video by Push Square. Let's see what they got to say.
Everyone, Aiden here from Push Square with Kale's review of Warhammer 40k SpaceMarine 2, a game that I am personally very, very excited for, so let's see what Kale has to say about it in our PS5 review. Warhammer 40,000 SpaceMarine 2 is a triumph of the storied universe in which it takes place, illustrating the grimdark setting in detail enough for even the most hardened veterans. It's an instant...
Hey, no lie, this game definitely hits every fucking point when it comes to atmosphere. This game, playing this game is taking me back to Xbox 360, playing Gears of War 2 for the first time. Going back and playing the first Gears of War. Like the shock that I had when I first played that game, and like the gore and the atmosphere and the dark. And it wasn't really like on no horror, because I'm not a horror genre fan in any way. But it had those like elements of like the atmosphere without being necessarily horror. And it did it, and it balanced that so well. And that's what SpaceMarine 2 is doing. No lie. This is the best Warhammer game, Warhammer 40k game that I've played so far. You know, I've enjoyed all the other ones I played, but this one, it hit different. It feel like there's something in this game that the other ones didn't have, which is like it got soul, right? So I think I'm like 3 or 4 hours into the campaign. I played a couple matches of the multiplayer, which is also fun, right? It's a traditional multiplayer. It is kind of like a hero shooter in a sense, meaning that each, like, they got different characters and they all got abilities and whatnot, but it's still a level of like traditional multiplayer that you get in that experience. I'm liking it. It's not a lot of third-person multiplayer shooters that I enjoy today, to be honest.
Cooperative classic full of glorious, relentless combat, and our only remaining question mark over the whole thing is how it handles competitive multiplayer, because we couldn't sample the PvP during the review period. Nevertheless, with a lengthy cinematic campaign that's full of memorable set pieces that truly showcase the power of the PS5, as well as half a dozen formidable operations designed for co-op play, which are cleverly woven into the main narrative, and the...
Hey, no lie, the set pieces in this game is fire as fuck. The only issue I'm having with the game is the game runs weird. And what I mean by that, it don't run bad. I have a mid-tier PC. I'm playing it on PC. I was like debating, should I get it on PS5 or get it on PC? I ended up going with PC just to get those extra benefits of being on PC. But it's a lot of weird shit going on with this game when it comes to performance. Now, maybe it's because at the time of me doing this podcast, this is prior to the official release date. I'm playing it on early access, so maybe it's because of that. But to be honest, the early access date is really the release date, to be honest. They just pushed the actual release date back from the early access date and called that the release date so people could spend more to play it 3 days early. That's all it is. So I don't know if that's going to change, but yeah, it's having slight performance issues on PC. I don't know about PS5, like loading into the game. I think the only people that are not really having issues on PC are people with like 4090s or 40 series graphics cards and whatever, souped up PCs, super PCs. But anybody else, it seems like people are having slight issues with, you know, just certain things about the game, connecting to the servers, things of that nature. But that's all expected on a day one release. That's just how it goes.
The prospect of Horde mode on the horizon, SpaceMarine 2 is already a tribute worthy of the God Emperor of mankind himself. The direct sequel of 2011 SpaceMarine, it's clear that video games have come an incredibly long way since the nostalgic days
this game
of the
looks
PS3.
so good, bro.
It continues the gore-drenched saga of Ultramarine Captain, now Lieutenant Dimitrian Titus, whose steadfast devotion to the Imperium of Man, the Emperor, and his battle brothers is pretty much the extent extent of his characterization. You don't really need to be a devout 40k fan to follow along, but for those
That's
who
facts.
have seen his light, it takes place in the era Indomitus. Rubuti Gilliman has returned, Primarch and genetic father of the Ultramarines, who leads the Indomitus crusade, uniting the scattered worlds of humanity once more. Having served a century of penance in the Death Watch since the first game, Titus undergoes the Rubicon Primaris, becoming an even deadlier
on, bruh.
Primaris Marine, and is deployed to face a splinter.
Hold on, is this man dropping spoilers? Like, what the hell? Yeah, we gonna go ahead and turn off the audio for this video. I'm gonna just play it in the background. I don't know what people want to consider spoilers. I've seen certain things, let's just say that, and so I know. But if you ain't played it yet, you know, I ain't gonna do you like that, right? I ain't gonna do you like that. But nevertheless, I'm gonna just go ahead and get my feedback. Yeah, the game is fire. You do have to get a little bit used to the controls. The controls are a little different than most shooters. But if you try to change it, at least for controller, you don't have a lot of options. Basically every controller config in the game settings are like weird. They're weird buttons, but they're placed in weird spots. So, you know, you can't really do much about that even on PC. But as far as gameplay goes, man, one thing that it does take adjusting to is like the speed of the game. It is a slower paced game. It's very it feels very similar to a Gears of War without the cover based component of combat. You can't get into cover, which I would say they should have at least implemented some type of cover system in the game, because there's an overwhelming amount of enemies at times on the screen, and sometimes you can't do nothing but just get smacked upside the head. I'm playing it on Angel of Death, the difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty in the game. And yeah, there are points where there are so many enemies, like smaller enemies on the screen, like I can't do nothing to protect myself except just swing my sword or whatever melee weapon I'm using at the time and throw grenades and do the execution moves that give you the shields back. Those three yellow bars up on the top left corner, the only way you can replenish those is to do execution moves on enemies. And so that's the only way I can like survive. So I'm fighting basically to get the enemies in like this state where they're blinking red without killing them in order to get my shield back. And the shield will regenerate after a certain amount of time, but the amount of time it takes to regenerate, you're going to end up being dead if you're actively in combat before it actually regenerates. But yeah, no, the game is fire. Like hopefully they can get these performance things taken care of. There's on the PC side, there's like this Epic launcher or Epic store thing that it downloads with the game that I think is causing the game to run weird. It almost feels like a version of like DRM or whatever that's called, where you have to be always online to play it. But there's been multiple times where the game has not been able to load, and I've gotten an error in game trying to load into the campaign. So there are performance issues. I'm playing the early access version. I got the gold edition of the game, and it's very, very good. If you are on the fence of getting this game, I would recommend it. You're going to thoroughly enjoy it. You're going to thoroughly, the actual campaign is fire. Like, it's one of those games when you're playing it, you don't feel any stress. Like, especially if you're not playing it on the hardest difficulty. I am. So I'm gonna feel stressed from that, from dying to bullshit. But as far as like the experience goes, just look at this on the screen. Look at all this stuff on the screen. Like, this is the experience you're going to get, right? So I highly recommend Warhammer 40K SpaceMarine 2. The multiplayer is cool. It's not nothing special, right? I don't think it's going to be the next multiplayer to have millions of people playing it, but it's a good multiplayer. So if you're looking for a multiplayer game, you're looking for a game that has a good environment, good graphics, decent story, this is the game for you. And with that being said, we are going to move on to our next topic. So I know in my last podcast I brought up Black Myth Wukong, or I believe I did. I don't know if I did, to be honest. But we're going to go ahead and dive into, my thoughts. I'm in chapter 3 now. I think I'm like halfway through the game. I think it's only 6 chapters. But yeah, man, when I tell you Black Myth Wukong does something to a brother, it's just I don't know. It's just it's now that I've done a little research on the actual myth of Wukong, Journey to the West, the actual thing that this game is based off of, the way that they implement and turn that story into a video game is next level. Next level. I believe in China, when the game released, companies were giving their workers days off, paid days off to play this game. Schools were shutting down so the students could play this game. That is so fire. That is so fire. That just goes to show, and I think a lot of the success is coming from China. Like the way that this game is blowing up, it's because of China. Literally because of China. Would this game be doing the same type of numbers without China? I don't think so, but it would be very successful regardless. This game is fire. Let's go ahead and check out a little video on it.
Actually has the answer to that, as they just officially confirmed we're going to get a full-blown expansion.
Ooh.
And no, it won't take 6 more years to finish that. It's
Fire.
actually coming
Fire.
way sooner. We have
Fire.
this interview that Bloomberg put out with Daniel Wu, one of the main investors over at Game Science. So lots of new info to talk about, and let's jump right in. Now, I'm going to cite directly from the Bloomberg article. I'm pretty sure that you need to make an account to actually see this. So if you haven't, here's pretty much the relevant bit over here as it pertains to the actual expansion. So it won't take another 6 years for the next chapter in what's planned to be a series based on Chinese mythology, though that won't be a sequel. Instead, Game Science is working on an expansion to Wukong, which will give it a chance to monetize the game a second time. Think of it as 2022's Elden Ring, a title with similar playstyle and design, which has shown how the release of an expansion, in this case this year's Shadow of the Erdtree, can spur a fresh flurry of sales for the original. And we kinda know that Shadow of the Erdtree went ahead to sell at least 4 million copies just in the first few days after its launch, pretty much solidifying this as one of the best single-player experiences of all time. As a quick side note, at the time of this article, which is September 5th, it's been confirmed that Black Myth Wukong has sold over 18 million copies in just 2 weeks. And since it's
18 million copies in 2 weeks! Ooh! Ooh! Man, when I tell you this game, I love Souls games. Like, I've learned to love Souls games, let's say that. And this game not having consequence to dying is so fucking refreshing, dog. I was just playing Elden Ring, playing the DLC, and that motherfucker was so stressful because I would rack up all these goddamn souls, and then I'll go to this bullshit ass boss and die, and then I can't get the souls back because I fucking die again trying to get the motherfuckers. That shit was annoying. Like, that was more annoying to me. I would be fine with an Elden Ring where you don't lose your XP when you die. I would be perfectly fine with that. I would be perfect. So this game not having that feature is just brilliant. Straight brilliant, because now you could just focus on the gameplay. You can enjoy the gameplay for what it is. You could take more risk. You can explore a little bit more without sweating like, damn, I got to get to this bonfire so I can use this XP up before I die, and you ain't got to do all that, right? So that I think that's another reason why this game did so well, because it was just refreshing.
Released on August 20th, the game has broken multiple records for single-player titles, eclipsing the likes of even Cyberpunk 2077. Woo! And in total, it's estimated to have earned over $700 million so far, pretty much only being overshadowed by the record-breaking Call of Duty historic 1 billion in 10 days. Which is pretty absurd to think about, given how this is the studio's first big AAA title. Though not the first game they ever put out. In fact, they put out 3 other games in the past. Unfortunately, though, all of them were pretty much flops. So Game Science has struck out with its 3 prior efforts, which were more modest free-to-play mobile games, chasing attention in the world's biggest games arena. One of them, Art of War Red Tides, even got prime placement on the iOS App Store, but to no avail. And even if you take a look at the Steam charts, because it's been re-released on Steam in the meantime, I think that at max it had about 4,000 players and less than 100 still play to this day. But then there's also this interesting part later in the article about Fang and his own team's experience with games, especially at Tencent. So Wukong founded Hero Games in 2015, Hero Games being of course one of the biggest outside investors in game science, and after a 3-year stint with the famed Chinese venture firm, he zeroed in on Fang and his game science team early on, describing them as an asset that he could not afford to miss out on. At Tencent, Fang had to lead a team of 250 people on the development of online role-playing game Asura, inspired by similar folklore to Wukong. The title launched in 2010 and initially won praises for its design, though it later upset players with practices around its in-game shop that were deemed exploitative. So it's very interesting to see their stance on that given their experience with free-to-play games, and also kind of explains that whole message in the QA section behind the game not having any microtransactions or pay-to-win stuff in it, and something that you can quote and even screenshot, as that is a guarantee from them. So yeah, definitely seems that whatever expansion follows next, it's not going to ever include any pay-to-win or microtransaction stuff. It's always going to be single player, and
I will proudly support a game like this that has no microtransactions. When they drop this expansion, I'm copping day one, and I'm honestly mad I didn't get it. No, I'm lying. I got that motherfucker as soon as it dropped. What the fuck am I talking about? But nevertheless, yeah, any game like this, any game like SpaceMarine 2, yeah, I'm always support it, because I want more games like these games. These games where they don't have a microtransaction. They're not trying to nickel and dime you to death, and they're giving you a solid quality product. Is it perfect? No. But we don't need it to be perfect. We need it to be good. You feel me?
Really glad, because the game is an absolute blast to play, and it would really be a disservice to have anything of sorts in it. And maybe this will mean we also get back some of the missing bosses and zones that we've seen in the trailers but never made it in the final product.
Wow.
So one of them is actually something that I digged around for some of the Chinese forums, and we actually kind of got confirmation from the developers at some point about Wukong versus the 100,000 Celestial Court soldiers that we've seen in, I believe, one of the first ever revealed trailers. So apparently this part was too boring. That is why Game Science eventually took it out. I'm pretty sure it was one of the developers,
that shit look hard, bro.
Himself,
that's some bullshit.
Did confirm that. It's just that it didn't feel fun playing it, and the comparison made was with, yeah, basically mowing the lawn, which is pretty interesting, though I think they could have still implemented that, and kind of give you that feeling of being very overpowered. Or maybe they could have pulled off a Dynasty Warriors sort of encounter, kind of have it that way. We've kind of seen the tri-point spear being capable of doing insane like AoEs through enemies if they stay on a line in front of you, of course, but they could have definitely done something with it. I kind of still wish this was coming back. We have at least a few more enemies that are completely missing from the game, including their respective zones. So for example, this giant cobra enemy that seems to have a lot of those serpent-like moves would have definitely been very annoying, especially in such a tight spot. Then there's this fight against what I presume to be some Chapter 6 Celestial Court initial enemy encounters, though what's peculiar here is of course that attack plus finishing move, which we don't really have in the full game. So maybe,
which is crazy. You know they was cooking with this motherfucker when they got whole ass bosses, whole ass smaller enemy mob types that they didn't even put in the game, that they have actual gameplay for. They have actual cohesive gameplay for. They took this shit out the game because of whatever reason, bruh. They was cooking when they made this motherfucker. God damn.
Be a different stance that at some point didn't make it in the full game. Then we have this Thor-like boss encounter that's also missing. He seems to be charging that sword with thunder, also wields a shield in the other hand. The whole area seems to be absolutely blasted. Trees and everything else pretty much on fire. Now, I'm not certain if this is chapter 2 or not, but it kind of reminds me a bit of that. And the next one I would presume to be chapter 3. Kind of looks like one of the lake areas, I guess, in that location, especially since there's also some apparent snow around, but it's definitely completely different than the rest we've seen. This giant bird boss with a huge spear, and I'm not gonna lie, I think that the white clad armor fully upgraded would absolutely make this entire boss fight a breeze, just because of the massive healing factor that you get while standing in water. Also, I'm pretty sure that this is an earlier iteration of one of the secret boss fights, the one at the end of Kingdom of Sahari that you unlock in chapter 2, because we have the same giant sort of heads, and then once the character falls, we can see that, yeah, it's pretty much the same insect boss right here from the pincers and from the way it looks. But yeah, I mean, it's like several orders of magnitude bigger than the one in game, and that is big as it is. So yeah, this would have definitely been even crazier. However, most disappointed I am at the fact that there are so many missing areas from chapter 2. It seems that initially it was way bigger, containing a lot more zones and enemies than before. Like, there are whole sections here that I do not even recognize. And yes, some of the enemies over—
Hey, that's facts, because they report that I just completed chapter 2, I want to say sometime this week, and there were points I'm like, damn, that look like that should be an area. So I could see that they cut off a lot of shit. I could see that because I just went through chapter 2. I'm in chapter 3. I want to say I might be like halfway through chapter 3 now. But yeah, I could tell that they cut off a lot of content, because and chapter 2 was big as hell right now. Like, it took me a while to get through chapter 2, especially the way that I play games. I'm always bouncing from game to game. I'm just getting different vibes. But nah, this right here, this right here, yeah, what you know about that?
Over here seem to be in the full game, like many of these red mages and blade dancers you can actually get as spirits and even fight against, similarly to the footage, but there are some in there that look really wild. There's even like a boss fight that we never got against this giant bull, and of course also this crazy encounter versus, like, I don't know, 20 or so archers. We kind of got a similar one versus 4 at the village entrance, but it was nowhere near that absolute level of craziness. So you would definitely need Cloud Step or Azure Dust to even survive that. Beyond that, chapter 1 also appeared quite a bit different than what it is in the final product. Like, for example, just before the boss encounter with the giant wolf, we, in at least the reveal trailer, had a big fight with a lot of enemies at the same time.
I'm glad they took that shit out
than we have in the full game.
That's one thing I'll say. I hate playing against a lot of enemies at once in this game, because the way the combat is you don't have a lot of moves that are capable of hitting multiple enemies at once. So you gotta like focus on each one, and they fucking you up. So, you know, I'm kind of glad that they took that out, because that should have made me mad as hell. Best believe that. You feel me?
No matter the chapter, which seems really interesting, but it didn't make it. It seems that most of the fights we have are very one-on-one or 2-3 maximum at the same time. You very rarely have 5+ enemies fighting against you at any single time, which is I guess great. It makes sense, maybe even for performance reasons. Then it also pops off that Azure Dome monkey form, which we only get from the secret ending. Again, very interesting. I kind of thought about it, and maybe, you know, I thought that this would be a new game plus run, but then it doesn't make sense, because of course it has the starting armor and all the starting attacks and whatnot. Beyond that, even in the fight against the big wolf enemy, we have the Pluck of Many being used in the old footage, which doesn't make sense because this comes in quite a bit later after this, in about chapter 2, once you reach the Cellar Waypoint. And many others in there, but for the most part, I am excited about the expansion. It seems that there was a lot of creativity behind the game and many missing features that I cannot wait to see.
I'm excited too. This expansion about to go crazy. Shout out to, how you say this motherfucking name? Craze Gaming, for putting all this information together for your boy, so I could sit here and watch it with you guys. Go check his channel out. Definitely seems like he makes great content. With that being said, we're moving on to the next topic. So, Concord, we got to speak about it. You know, this is another big topic this week. Has officially shut down, unfortunately. And I got some thoughts about that. I got some controversial thoughts about that. For real. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Chelsea Bites, and in today's gaming news, Sony is quickly taking Concord offline after selling only 25,000 units. Phil Spencer talks about his worst game decisions, and Anatria is being delayed indefinitely on Xbox after being ignored by Xbox.
Okay, real quick, now that she said it, because I wasn't even going to talk about that this week. I seen that topic, and I was like, do I want to talk about Anatria or whatever the fuck the game's name is, which is, it's a Souls-like game, but it was canceled or delayed indefinitely for the reason because Microsoft and their sorry ass customer support would not get back to the developers to help them with whatever development issues they were having, trying to possibly, I believe, get it to run optimally on the Xbox Series S. That's what I think was going on. But there has been an update to the story. Xbox did get back with the developers, and it is still coming to Xbox. It is not delayed indefinitely anymore. Xbox players will be able to play Anatria, which is, it's a Souls-like game if you haven't heard about it.
This is your daily fix. After Concord was released less than 2 weeks ago on August 23rd, Sony has announced it will be pulling the game from the shelves completely. Developer Firewalk Studios was founded in 2018. Shortly after, it began developing Concord. Sony made the decision to acquire Firewalk Studios in April 2023 and quickly announced the game during the PlayStation Showcase in May 2023. But even more quickly, Sony has now delisted Concord. It's not even showing up in the PlayStation Store anymore.
That's crazy.
3 days after its launch, analysts at the analytical firm Omdia said the Steam concurrent numbers were so low, they didn't even need the PS5 data to know things were going badly for the game. As of August 28th, analyst Simon Carless of the GameDiscover.co newsletter said sales of Concord sit at 10,000 units on Steam and around 15,000 units for PS5. 25,000 units sold at $40 a pop doesn't bode well for a game like that, which costs tens of millions of dollars to make.
Now, this is my issue with this whole situation. I played the closed beta. I actually pre-ordered the game. I didn't pay off the pre-order. I got my $5 back. But I actually pre-ordered the game, right? So I was a part of the pre-order numbers whenever they were leading up to the release. And this game is actually a decent game, believe it or not. Believe whatever the discourse is saying on the internet. The game was actually a good game. My issue is not with the game itself. My issue is with PlayStation. Because you bitch ass niggas didn't want to let the developers cook. Y'all dropped the game. Y'all bought the studio because of the game. They released the game. Okay, the game didn't perform as well as you thought it would. But at least see your investment through. And then for the people that actually were playing the game, even though you didn't have the audience you anticipated, you still had an audience. And so the people who invested all this time into the game, which is something you can't refund, they could give you your money back. They can't give you your time back. And that's that bullshit I'm talking about that PlayStation is doing. Because there were a lot of people who enjoyed the game, who put in hours grinding in this game in the short 2 weeks that it was live. And you said basically F y'all time, F y'all investment into the game. We're pulling our money. And so now there are fans out there who are left without a game. They didn't even get a chance to play the season 1. They didn't even get to season 1. I would understand if they let it ride for 6 months, they let it ride a year, and they still didn't make any improvements. There have been plenty of games that have popped off years after it was released, let alone 2 weeks. And they rolled it out that year, that 6 months. They rolled it out. They took the punches, and then they pop off because they listened to the community. PlayStation listened to the wrong community. That's the issue. They listened to the wrong community because they were the loudest and nobody bought the game. you should have let these developers cook, man. They made an actually decent game. And I think if they tried again and they refocused and recentered, came up with a game, a multiplayer game that was actually geared towards heterosexual men, you know, then I think they will make a great game. I genuinely do. The issue was there were design flaws in the game, and, you know, people were against that part, so they didn't want to support it. But let them change that. Let the developers figure that out. You already tens of millions of dollars in the hole. Man, come on, bro. That shit is crazy to me, man. That shit is so crazy to me. Yeah, PlayStation took a big L on this, and I hope they learn their lesson, because this is not how you handle a game that's failing or that's failed. You're supposed to at least see it through. Wait it out 6 months. Wait it out 3 or 4 seasons. Suicide Squad is still rocking and rolling. Come on, bruh. This shit is crazy.
Which begs the question, why did Sony rush out Concord? Buying a studio and showcasing its first game a month later is a confident move. Many, including myself, were disappointed with the game's rollout. Watching the teaser trailer would not have led me to believe that we were playing a reskinned PvP game. Didn't Destiny already do this? Or Overwatch? Valorant? Or any number of free-to-play hero shooters? Regardless of all the reasons Concord flopped, it's certain that it may be one of the biggest fails in gaming history.
Not only that, she just made a great point. Free to play. There are a lot of people online talking about, oh, they should have made this free to play. Well, guess what? Then everything that y'all say y'all hate about live service games, they would have had to do. They would have had to nickel and dime your ass for everything, right? People were complaining about skins. What you mad about skins for? You supposed to be enjoying the gameplay. You feel me? So it's just a lot of discourse around the game that's very hypocritical. And it's from a lot of people that didn't even play none of the betas, didn't buy the game when it came out. And now all of a sudden they're the voice that gets heard by PlayStation. They're not listening to the community that actually plays the game. It's not a big community, but there was a community. This shit is crazy.
After at least 6 years in development and 2 weeks on store shelves, Concord will go offline September 6, 2024.
Terrible.
Full refunds are being given to all players who purchased on PS5.
And then this is an even crazier part. You got motherfuckers celebrating that the game is shutting down. When did people go against preservation of games? Even if it's a game you are particularly not interested in. I thought people were for preservation of games. Matter of fact, in the EU right now, they're trying to get a law passed if a petition gets a million signatures, that they can sue these companies in a class action lawsuit to save these games that are going offline. But when it's a game that y'all don't want or y'all don't like, y'all are cool with it dying. It's very hypocritical if you ask me.
Or PC. Moving on with our theme of bad decisions, Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, admits to making some poor choices in his career. Spencer made the decision to pass on Destiny, which was released in 2014 by Activision. I'm sure the devs felt great on release day because it made more than $500 million day one. It's arguably one of the biggest launches in history. I don't know about you, but I love $500 million in my pocket right about now. So please, thank you. And I'm sure Microsoft would have too. However, Sony acquired Bungie and snagged Destiny 2 from Microsoft's clutches, since Microsoft now owns Activision Blizzard. Besides its loyal fanbase and consistent updates like The Final Shape, Circana advisor Matt Piscatella stated Destiny 2 was once the #2 best-selling FPS franchise in US dollar sales, trailing only Call of Duty as of 2019, all adding up to the sequel being a great success as well. I'm sure that's a sting Xbox thinks about from time to time. Did you know Spencer also passed on Guitar Hero? Alex Rodopoulos pitched the game to Spencer and he said, "Really? Do we really think that's gonna work?" Yes, Phil. Yes.
Ooh, that worked.
When I say I would do things to have that guitar back in my hand, I mean that. I really do. Now,
What you gonna do
Xbox
then?
has been able to
Let me
take
stop.
part in both games' success by
stop.
providing them on its platforms, so it's not a total loss. And sometimes you just don't make a decision at all. Next, let's talk about how Anatria, an upcoming Souls-like, may be delayed indefinitely on Xbox because Microsoft decided to ignore devs. Anatria, the
Well, we already know. I gave a little update to this part of the story right before we started the topic, right before we started the video. The game is coming to Xbox. Xbox finally got back to the devs, and they are now helping them do whatever they need to do on the back end to make sure this game comes to Xbox, which is a great thing. And to be honest, when people talk all this shit about games skipping Xbox and whatnot, I think this is why. I don't think it's because it's necessarily the Xbox Series S or not even that. Scratch that. I don't think it's because there are no people on Xbox buying games. I think it's because they're having issues developing for the Xbox Series S. The technology in the S is equivalent to like the pro version of the Xbox One. So, you know, that it's really subpar hardware, and they're having issues trying to put these demanding games onto this platform. And so the X is perfectly fine. And when they're running into these issues trying to develop for the Xbox Series S, Xbox is not getting back to them in a timely manner, and these people have deadlines to meet. And so instead of dealing with the rigmarole, with the investment time, the added time that it's going to take to get Xbox to respond to an email, they're like, you know what, forget the Xbox, right? And then you have it being the smallest platform out of all the gaming platforms. They're like, you know what, the risk to reward is not really there. Let's go ahead and skip it. I don't think it's because people are not buying games on Xbox. It's a hassle to deal with Xbox, the company. I think that's why these games are skipping Xbox, but I'm glad to hear that they were able to get it situated. And yeah, man, I'm looking. I think there's a demo on Steam right now currently. I'm gonna go ahead and check it out. But with that being said, we're gonna move on to the next topic of tonight. So, PlayStation just had their 30th anniversary, and supposedly there was a PS5 Pro design leaked or revealed in the 30th anniversary image. So let's go ahead and check this image out, man. I think it's gonna be interesting to see what this PS5 Pro look like. I'm not copping it on day one just because I don't see a need to be honest. I don't see a need to right now. I'm waiting to see what that GTA 6 gonna look like. Now, when we get some more details on GTA 6 and how it's gonna be running on the PS5 Pro versus a PS5, then the conversation about when I'm gonna get that PS5 Pro or if will happen. But up until then, I don't see a reason. But this is right here, if you can see it, right in between the PlayStation symbol and the 3. This right here is a PlayStation. Looks like a PlayStation 5 to me. And this allegedly is the PS5 Pro design. Let's see if we could zoom in a little bit more. I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit more on this browser. But you should be able to see that. But I mean, it's not really much to say about it. In my opinion, we haven't found nothing out about how the system will enhance the gaming experience for the console gamer. So until we get those type of details, we get some actual gameplay comparison footage from the PS5 to the PS5 Pro, we just gonna keep an eye out for it. But this is what it's possibly gonna look like. It looks cool, straight. That's all I gotta say about that. We're gonna be moving on to the next topic. So Microsoft, oh, actually I just talked about that. So we're gonna move on to the next topic. Sony doesn't have enough original franchises built from the ground up, executive says. So we're gonna go ahead and check this article out. It's so funny to me how Astrobot just released and is doing very well, might I add. Me personally, it's not my type of game. It looks fun, you know, for people that like that style of game. That's not my type of game. But I'm about to be 30 years old in a couple years. But nevertheless, I digress. So it's funny how Sony is talking about they don't have enough IPs. And allegedly, there are over 100 cameos in Astro Bot. So let's go ahead and see what they're talking about. Sony Chief Financial Officer Hiroki Totoki doesn't think that the media giant has enough franchises that it has fostered from the beginning, calling it an issue for the company as it seeks to rival its competitors in the space, aka Nintendo and Xbox. This is a quote, whether it's for games, films, or anime, we don't have that much IP that we fostered from the beginning, Totoki said in an interview with the Financial Times. Quote, we're lacking the early phase of IP, and that's an issue for us, end quote. PlayStation fans quickly seized on Totoki's comments, posting images of Sly Cooper, Resistance, and other long-lost franchises. But as others pointed out, Totoki was referring to the business as a whole, which is lacking in homegrown properties on the scale of, say, Mario. Outside of Spider-Man, Sony's biggest transmedia success is arguably The Last of Us, which debuted to great fanfare on HBO in 2023. One fan on Reddit quoted, "This comment is referring to Sony as a whole, not just its game division. From that perspective, I think I would agree. As a casual viewer, I couldn't name anything that stands out to me from their film division that isn't an existing IP. And even what they are making doesn't have the greatest reputation. What is Sony Pictures without Spider-Man? Hotel Transylvania?" Hey, from that perspective, and that's the end quote. From that perspective, I definitely would agree. When they're looking at the film side of the entertainment industry, they don't have a lot of IPs that I don't think would translate over into film. It's a great game, but that doesn't mean it's going to make a great film or TV show. Sony has prioritized the acquisition of major franchises, at one point seeking to team with Apollo to acquire Paramount for $26 billion, and a deal that ultimately fell through. Still, Sony is hoping that it can continue to develop popular properties of its own. We have the technology and this is a quote from Totoki, or CEO Kincharo Yoshida. We have the technology, and creation is the area where we like and where we can contribute the most. I think they quoted him wrong on that. That sounded kind of weird. Says CEO Kinichari, I'm not going to say this man's name, said as part of an interview. This is another quote. By putting our efforts in creation, that also means that we will work with partners on the distribution side. So I think we have developed very good relationships with the so-called big tech players, end quote. The interview also quotes Crunchyroll president Raul Parini, who says the streamer is seeking to team with Sony to co-produce shows amid rising production costs. He estimates that there are around 800 million anime fans globally, which he believes could rise to 1 billion in the next few years. So when he said this, he wasn't speaking from a gaming perspective. He was speaking from a film and TV show perspective. And I agree. Spider-Man is obviously the biggest IP on that side of the industry for Sony. And they trying it out with The Last of Us. And they're trying it out with God of War. And they're trying it out with Forbidden Horizon, which I don't know if they might have canceled that. So they're trying it out. They want to make these IPs household names like a Mario. And outside of Spider-Man, which Sony was not the ones that made Spider-Man popular. Outside of Spider-Man, they don't really have that. So they're trying to cultivate that. In my opinion, of course, it's good to have TV shows and movies based off your IPs, but you want to focus on the game. Focus on the game. Keep pushing forward right now, because on a first party perspective, PlayStation looking kind of dry. So hopefully they come up with some good IPs. I'm curious to see what they can do. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to The Last of Us Season 2 or whatever the case may be. That will be it for that topic. We're going to be moving on to the next topic. A new PlayStation 5 exclusive has released, and it is the best rated game in 2024. I think you all know what I'm talking about. We're talking about Astrobot. So let's go ahead and check out it before you buy, because I'm still on the fence about it. It's not my type of game in any stretch of the imagination. I can't tell you the last time I played a game like this. But with all the fanfare, FOMO is kicking in a little bit. I at least want to check it out. But let's go ahead and check out this before you buy real quick.
With another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino, and we've been very busy over here. It's been a very busy week for good games. Astrobot is really good. You've probably seen some of the reviews, some of the headlines out there, and I agree with the sentiments. This is a really fun game. This is going to be a pretty short and sweet, simple one because it is straightforward. This is a 100% old school action mascot platformer type game from the early days of like PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64. It's got all the charm and magic and everything you're really looking for. And just so you know, I've been playing a review copy and all this footage is captured on PS5. It's the only place where the game is available right now, but this footage is also going to be spoiler free, which I know is a weird thing to say for such a simple little game, but it's got a lot of hidden surprises and just really cool things to discover. So I'm going to try to avoid as much of those as possible here, because I do think some of the fun of the game is stumbling upon and just like seeing these weird, wild, crazy things. So essentially, Astrobot is a full spin on Astro's Playroom. This was the pack-in free game that came with the PlayStation 5 when it launched in 2020.
I still ain't played that.
I told you guys to play this when I did my PS5 before you buy. Nobody believed me, but
I'm gonna check it out.
It was a shorter but well-made, fun platformer experience, kind of revolving around all the classic PlayStation consoles. You're collecting stuff and running and jumping, and now this is a full-fledged title with like a lot more levels and stuff to do and more to collect, but with the same philosophies and idea. Just really, really high quality, high fidelity platforming and play, with a big emphasis on using the DualSense controller and like the haptics and the rumble feedbacks to their maximum degree, to the point where, yeah, it's gonna kill your battery. But this is a very fun, interesting game that, you know, is part nostalgia bait. You're collecting little bots that often represent classic PlayStation characters. There are tons here, a lot of surprises, not even first-party PlayStation characters, but third-party characters and things that just were part of PlayStation's heyday. So it's going for a bit of that nostalgia, and honestly, it's working. On the other hand, it's kind of like an advertisement or a commercial for the PlayStation 5 at first glance. You fly around on a DualSense controller. The end goal of this game is to find all the missing pieces and fix your giant PlayStation 5 mothership. So yes, the cynical eye can say this is like a PS5 ad, but the more you play it, the
like
more that
PS5
nostalgia and the PlayStation-centricness stuff melts away. It's always there, yes. It's celebrating a lot of fond memories I personally had as a young gamer, but along with that, like I said, there is just high quality, fun, well-designed platforming, engaging enemies, really fun little abilities you pick up and use for a level and drop and don't see again for quite some time. There's a lot of variety, and the way it's structured, I should probably back up, is that you launch from your kind of base planet and you have 5 different galaxies. From these maps, you can hover to a galaxy, select it, zoom in, and then within that galaxy, there are a bunch of little planets. Each planet is a level. A lot of levels aren't super long, but it's worth noting that all these little galaxies do have like a handful or more of them, as well as secret ones to explore. To unlock things and get further in the game and progress and get access to more of these galaxies, you need to play these levels, complete them, and collect little astrobots. That's the whole thing. You're finding and collecting and rescuing all these cute little robot guys, and some of them just happen to be wearing, like, you know, a costume from a famous PlayStation character here and there. If you click...
See, and that, no lie, that's the charm to me of this game. The way that they implement the DualSense. That's literally the only reason I'm even entertaining the idea of purchasing this game. If this had all the DualSense features eliminated from it, I wouldn't even blink twice about this. I don't care what the Metacritic score is, because to be honest and be quite frank, the Metacritic score to me has been devalued. The reason why is because there are things at play that we don't know about as average consumers that affect these Metacritic scores, i.e. free copies of games, i.e. being invited to events, right? And when these reviewers don't get the luxuries and the privileges that they usually get, it reflects in the score. So I don't really take it too seriously, but the way that this game is implementing its DualSense features, man, I'm kind of like, man, I want to check that out. So, you know, I'm still on the fence about it. I'm gonna do a little thinking. I'm gonna do a little soul searching to see if Astrobot is a game that, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and spend my money on. I might wait for a sale. That might be it. I might wait for a sale. That might be it right there. But it looks fun for the type of game it is. I am not in a place where I'm like, I don't see why people like it. I can see why people like this game. For the type of game it is, if you're into this is definitely a game that's a must play, straight up. But yeah, with that being said, we're moving on to the next topic. Okay, so now that Concord is dead, we know that PlayStation has live service games coming down the pipeline, i.e. Marathon from Bungie, i.e. Fair Games. So let's go ahead and take another look at Fair Games, man, because I'm having some type of like epiphany that Fair Games might suffer the same fate that Concord has suffered. But to verify this, we're gonna have to check this trailer out.
You want to know about us? Seems like everyone does these days. It's simple. Too much money and too much power is held by just a few people. And it's only getting worse. So, we decided to do something about it. Let's go.
It's a haiku, I'm something like you. Might drink and drive too. Work 9 to 5s when I was in high school. These shoes here don't come out till June. This my pick, I'll crop you. Married to the game, said my I do's. Got a window seat like Erica Badu.
I'm seeing DEI. Uh-oh.
You ain't got it, then you can't flaunt it. Pull up Lamborghini and Sonic.
Okay. Hey, no lie. This is giving me the vibes of what the finals did when I first seen the finals. But it seemed like it's actually funner than the finals. It's also very ironic that in the beginning of the trailer it's talking about how we should cheat the rich, and there's too many rich, it's not enough rich people, and certain rich people have all the money. We got to cheat them out this money. It's very ironic to me because Concord, the rich company, doesn't see and support this game that they just put millions of dollars into. And so instead of helping these developers who are making their first fucking game and help them out and support the people who are doing this because they love the industry and want to make good content and make a good game, instead of supporting these people, y'all pull y'all money away and say fuck them because I'm almost certain, if not, it might have happened already, but some developers at Firewalk Studios, which is the studio that created Concord, they're going to be out of a job. They're going to be in the unemployment line very soon. If not, they've already got their first unemployment check by now. So I'm, the issues that Concord brought to the forefront with the whole DEI, the whole woke shit, right? It looks like Fair Games has the same shit going on to me. I see a lot of diversity. I see a lot of equity. I see a lot of inclusion. And so hopefully this game does not fall victim to the same bullshit that Concord did. You got these, I ain't trying to go too crazy, but you got these weirdos in the gaming industry that hate looking at women. You got these weirdos in the gaming industry that hate seeing people of color. If it ain't white, it ain't right. You got these weirdos in the industry. And if they want to keep the same track record, Fair Games is the next target up. Right? It's immersion breaking to play as a woman. So, I hope if Fair Games, the graphics look good. If the graphics are anything similar to what the CGI trailer is, it's going to be a beautiful game, just like Concord. Concord was on UE5. So it's going to be a beautiful game. The gameplay actually looks pretty solid as far as like the premise of what it could be, right? You kind of got like this heist energy. You're breaking into places, stealing money, right? So it looks like it's kind of got some Payday 3 infused in there somewhere, or Payday infused in there. So it looks like it could be a pretty interesting game, especially to play with friends. It looks like it might be cooperative with all these different characters and whatnot. And then it looks like it's going to be some PvP. So I'm hoping that this game pans out to be a good game, because at the end of the day, that's all I want is a good game. But the thing with PlayStation, we need to allow it to be a good game. Even if it don't hit the marks that you thought it was going to hit, or you projected it, let it become a good game. Let it grow. And so hopefully, Fair Games, hopefully Fair Games don't fall to the same shit. It's looking kind of spooky right now. It's looking kind of spooky right now, for real. For real. But that's that topic. We're going to move on to the next topic. So the last topic of this week's episode it's a development to the whole Destiny 2 cheating scandal that popped off a couple years ago. I want to say it was like 3 years ago. Destiny 2 and Bungie sued a cheat seller. And the result of that lawsuit, the cheat seller had to pay Bungie millions of dollars. Well, recently, because it went to trial, this cheat seller appealed the judge after the judge made his ruling and demanded that this cheat seller pay Bungie millions of dollars. Well, the man appealed the ruling, and his appeal was denied in appellate court. So let's go ahead and look into it. I should have the article right here. Okay. Destiny 2 cheat seller Aim Junkies has been denied a new trial request against Bungie, who originally filed a lawsuit against the group and its parent company, Phoenix Digital, June 2021. This trial request came a year after Aim Junkies was ordered to pay more than $4.3 million to Bungie for violating the company's DMCA and bypassing protection measures for Destiny 2. Bungie has an extensive history of legal battles against cheat groups and other malicious actors that sought to gain an unfair advantage against other players in Destiny 2. One of the most recent and prolific cases involves Aim Junkies, as Bungie is highly determined to prevent any cheat providers from ruining the in-game experience in the crucible and competitive trials of Osiris activity. Nearly 2 years after filing the initial complaint, the judge ruled in Bungie's favor in February 2023, determining that Aim Junkies had violated the studio's DMCA and reverse engineered Destiny 2 to develop and sell its cheats. As a result, the judge ordered AIM Junkies to pay the aforementioned $4.3 million sum to the studio to cover damages and Bungie's legal fees. The legal battle was not completely over for the cheat group, as AIM Junkies filed two appeals after Bungie this year, or against Bungie this year. As reported by Torrent Freak, AIM Junkies was denied a new trial request by the Seattle District Court, and the group will not proceed with either of its appeals against Destiny 2 developers Bungie. Firstly, the cheat group failed to convince the court to overturn the jury verdict issued back in May 2024. The Court of Appeals also affirmed that the $4.3 million arbitration award to Bungie, with an additional $63,000 that must now be paid by Phoenix Digital and all individual defendants. The court noted that the scale of the award is not completely irrational. The U.S. District Judge Thomas Zilli ruled that Bungie had provided enough evidence to definitively prove that AIM Junkie infringed on the company's copyrights. Now, that's a dub for the entire gaming industry, because we know as gamers that these cheat makers are going crazy, and they are always in head of the developers, because these anti-cheat developers are a reactionary measure that developers can use in order to stop cheating, which means that they have to wait for the cheats to come out in order to improve their anti-cheat. So it's always a cat and mouse race when it comes to developers versus the cheat makers. And now that these cheat makers here have been fined $4.3 million, hopefully it puts all these other cheat makers on notice and all these other development studios on notice that we can get your ass if you keep playing with our games. And so hopefully that's a deterrent. I doubt it is, because the love of money is a motherfucker, and it'll make people do some crazy shit. So I doubt that, the cheat makers are really shaking in their boots like, oh no, hopefully I don't get sued. I doubt they're doing that. But anything that fights back against cheating is good by me. And with that being said, folks, it is the end of this episode 8 of the We Game podcast. I appreciate you guys for staying tuned and checking out the video. Go ahead and subscribe. I do these podcasts on Saturdays, starting between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is RJ, and I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. Until next time, folks, catch y'all